Hello, wonderful maltsters. Welcome to the Whisky Bothy. I'm the commentator, the host, and the general presenter. That's my main duty. I'm Ralphie, and I talk about whisky because I've been drinking whisky for a long, long time. And I'm not an expert, but I do have experience, and experience matters, particularly when it is self-confident, self-informed, and basically assists you with the benefit of another person's experience. Because after all, if you want to be a whisky drinker, it's easy peasy. Just walk into a bar, ask for a whisky, they'll ask you if you want Jameson's, or they'll ask you if you want Johnny Walker, and then you get your glass in a tumbler and they ask you if you want ice, and then you get your ice and you hey, mission accomplished, and then you can enjoy your whisky. Sort of. But then there are whisky drinkers who are much more invested in flavour and the knowledge of how that flavour is created. So we're not talking about a basic consumer connectivity with a product. We're talking about something much more meaningful. So welcome to review number 1117, where I am now going to make a much more meaningful presentation of this Arran 10-year-old local barley at 50% volume, which, unlike when you're buying a whisky at a bar in wherever, which fewer and fewer people are doing, because it's too expensive and it's just increasingly a hostile environment for socialising in, because you're surrounded, unfortunately, usually in bigger cities, by people who are more aggressively consuming narcotics and other drugs. And that's the fact of it. It leads to a sense of unease. And particularly for people of a less self-confident disposition, bars can be quite hostile and alienating environments. So you've got to pick your bar carefully. You're not in a bar at the moment, you're in the bothy. And that means that there's no tumbler, there's no ice, there's no bill for $8, $12, $15. You know, whatever they're charging these days. I don't know. I don't go to many bars. I don't waste my money. I don't waste my time. I'm going to pour a glass of this into a capita, a nosing glass, with good whiskies. We are drawn in and we grow from the experience of connectivity. We engage more meaningfully. We use our sense of smell. We use our sense of taste. It's what we're supposed to do as humans. But we're in a high, rapid consumption environment where we're invited to ignore the quality of our senses and just to shut up, connect with the big corporate media stroke political narratives, which are basically all one these days, and just consume the product, pay your taxes, keep being economically active, and know your place. And you and I have to disrupt that. We're not going to overturn it because it's part of the human condition. It's always been there in some form or other. But what we're going to do is empower ourselves. And as we do so, we disempower those who do not have our best interests at heart. And what we will find after 3, maybe 4 years of meaningfully, objectively sipping whisky for quality, not quantity, is that our health is a lot better than if we were binge drinking and getting wasted on a Friday or a Saturday night or both. We're less likely to be targeted, get our drinks spiked, get mugged, get stuck with a needle. All the sort of nonsense things that happen in society because, frankly, our status is not important. And this may seem a little bit kind of convoluted to you, but I'm making an important point here. The quality of our life is our responsibility, and we make of it what we will. And this comes down to our willpower. And what you will notice is that after a few years of quality whiskey, you'll notice you're spending less on alcohol, you're spending less time drunk, you're spending less time with people you don't particularly like when you're sober, and like even less when you're not sober. You're spending less time overpaying in so-called hospitality environments where drink is often accompanied by food, and heaven help you if you're going into a pizza shop, well, it depends on the quality of the pizza, doesn't it? Or a burger chain, and just buying the absolute junk that they are selling you at grossly inflated prices. Let's move on to the whiskey now, shall we? We're just at that perfect pitch moment in time. This is Arran Optic Barley. It's the first time Arran have effectively released a local barley option in their range. And as soon as I saw it, and I was doing a video for my Patreon subscribers just at the end of last year called Whiskey Watch, as in what whiskies are coming onto the market and what am I interested in buying from this array of shops. And this was first and foremost. As soon as I saw this, I didn't have to check the reviews. I knew I wanted to buy a bottle and review it for you. And I have to tell you, I've not had much of this because you don't need much of it when you're doing your research. In fact, the first pour should be very, very small. It should be just to wet your whistle, just to give you a brief introductory transient taste. And then a few days later, in your second pour, you're getting a little bit further into the whiskey. You're spending a bit more time with it, and therefore it's worth giving yourself a bigger pour. And at this stage, I'm in review. I'm not shaking about in the glass, which completely destroys the balance of the flavour, completely disrupts the whiskey. I still don't know why people do it. I think it's just a theatrical little habit they've picked up because they've seen experts do it. And experts do it because it's good theatre. But good theatre can be a bad habit. So do not shake your whiskey. Roll it gently about the glass. This lets you have time to look at the beading, look at the legs, get an idea as to the substance of this whiskey, which in this instance is unchill filtered and natural colour. That is a natural coloured whiskey. Things are moving on here. Things are making progress. This is made from Optic barley, sourced locally on the Isle of Arran. Optic barley is an old-fashioned style of barley from the 1950s, the 1960s, my goodness, even earlier. But the thing about old-fashioned styles of barley is you get a poorer yield off them. They're not like the big corporate industrial brands of yield now. Like, let me see, what is it? Chalice, I think Chalice 2, Chalice 3, Chalice 13, wherever. It's always on the go. The hybridisation of grains to provide larger yields, and sure they provide bigger yields, these modern grains, bigger alcohol yields. But in doing so they sacrifice flavour, which is why modern whiskies seem to taste a little bit less of whiskey, because the barley variety they're using is very convenient for economy of cost. In other words, it's cheaper, certainly cheaper per tonne than your Optic barley sourced on the Isle of Arran. But there's a farmer on the Isle of Arran, farming his land, producing local barley in local soil, and he's getting the money, not a corporate multinational somewhere in Canada. or the USA or wherever. And this adds to the authenticity, the quality of the experience. Because it's not just about the quality of delivery. We're now looking at the quality of anticipation. Is it fake or is it genuine? In this instance, it's genuine. Have I heard from the marketing team and the brand ambassador or the worshipful master blender? No, nothing, zero, zilch. And that improves the anticipation of the quality. Because that's the way it works in the modern market, maltmates, and you need to know this. Don't be suckers, don't be schmucks, don't be taken for a plumbing ride. It's all very well listening to the narrative, but I assure you, you really shouldn't be buying too much into it. It only leads to disappointment and delusion. Let's smell the whiskey now. We've given it time enough. Beautiful, creamy, bright, fresh fruit, slight kiwi fruit, soft banana, a little bit fresh apple, soft apple, not pungent apple, a little bit of pear as well. Queen William pears, you know, the ones they use for desserts with red wine, etc. If you go to that sort of restaurant, usually a waste of money. The nose is beautiful. The nose is delightful, fresh, clean, crisp, authentic. First taste, 50%. Always a good sign of a good whiskey is when you taste it neat and you're not assaulted by the nip of alcohol. Here, you could drink this neat, no problem at all. The nip of the alcohol, considering its strength, is well suppressed by the fullness of flavour. And that flavour is understated, complex, and immediately rewarding. I'm going to add a drop of water now. Where's my soda? No, I don't have one. I'm going to have to use my... Oh, here's my soda spoon. No, I've not got a soda. I've not got a soda spoon. I'm going to have to use my dropper. Right, 5 millimetres of... Yeah, that's about 5 millilitres. Nah, that's about 2 now. I'm going to double it. I can just tell from experience. Lovely threading going on in that whiskey. Really delightful symmetry and threading. Again, reinforcing, reminding, articulating the authenticity and the quality of what's in the glass. As you can see, you've got no chance of getting this far standing at a bar, scrunched up with the other customers, coping with all the conflicting perfumes from every direction as you hold on to your big chunky tumbler with the big ice cube in it, trying to unravel this quality of whiskey, which they're highly unlikely to have behind the bar unless they are a proper whiskey bar. And there are very, very few proper whiskey bars out there. Very few. Because to survive, they need a proper whiskey clientele. They need us. Already, Scotch Mist appearing instantly. This has been professionally filtered. It hasn't seen a chill filtration machine. It's barrier filtered. In other words, 3 strainers. The coarse one for the woody bits and the bits of hessian out the cask. The medium one to get the finer grains. And then the fine sieve, just to get the bits of sawdust. And what are you left with? Authentic whiskey. Full flavoured, full delivery, full narrative from the experience, and the feeling that you've spent your money wisely because you're getting what you invested in. Nose. Completely unpeated, super luscious, fresh fruit. It's slightly syrupy, and over time, when you leave it, because of the proactive cask involvement, primarily of bourbon casks, what you're going to see is it develop. Even at 10 years old, the range of development over time in the glass is going to be very impressive. There are very few distilleries that I buy completely on trust. Arran is one of them. I don't buy the old Arrans. I don't think they're worth the money. I don't think most old whisky nowadays is worth the money. It's my personal opinion. But see your standard and your interesting younger Arrans every time. This distillery got off to such an unpromising start, but then they did something really, really important. They learned about their distillery, not just imposing the cookie cutter pop-up distillery mechanism protocols onto Arran. They learned how to listen to the stills, even as they used the stills, and this is why they're producing good whisky. Taste. Sweet and sour, but loads of fresh fruit with it. Melon, muscatel grapes, a crisp, slightly resinous, and certainly a tannic, fading glow coming from the activity and the engagement of the casks. This is delightful. You see, the thing about old-fashioned varieties of barley, and very few distilleries do this, Springbank does it. Just check out the collectability of old versions of local barley Springbanks. You'll find they're quite an endorsement for the theme. Bruichladdich have done it, producing super flavoursome, at times demanding, intense whiskies that are very rewarding, particularly when they're blended 1/3 to 2/3 with standard 10-year-old Bruichladdich, or even the Port Charlotte. It remains a single malt in that case, and it works so well. There are distilleries like Lochlee that are automatically using local barley, and I believe Kilchoman does the same. But we don't see enough on the label about it. We need to see it on the label, which is the contract, so as that we don't have to go on wild goose chases for information online from official websites which we may or may not be able to trust. Distilleries need to narrate to us what they are putting into the bottle, and the label is the contract, is the place to do it. So thank you, Arran, for doing that. And another thing is Braille. There's Braille on this label. I find it remarkable that more distilleries are not putting Braille on the label. It's not expensive to do. Get rid of the boxes, get rid of the tins with the little pamphlets in it, and etc., that tell you all about the history of the heather and the purple dashing mountain streamsy stuff, says it, whatever. It's just all white. It's all purple noise now. And here we have it on the label. This is edition number 1. It's bottled in 2025. And there's 18,000 bottles of this, by the way. So you can probably find it where you are. It's not as if it's single cask stuff. I think the best thing now for me is have one more taste and give you a malt mark. This is the direction real whisky is going that sustains our interest. Whisky industry splitting into two distinct groups. The big group of mainly big producers, but not always, who want to impose their dumbed down, sanitised product on us and continue to patronise us as ill-informed, inferior consumers. And it's their way, that's not what they're saying, but it's the way they're thinking. And then you've got smaller distilleries, not all of them, but connect connecting with not just today's customer, but the customer in 1 year, 10 years, next 100 years. Because the whole whisky scene is changing dramatically. And good whisky has never been more important than it is now, particularly when they tell us on the label, honestly, without BS and flannel, what's making it good. It matters. We know it matters because we're self-educated, self-taught, and we're on our PhDs in whiskyology. Congratulations. You're well on your way to qualifying if you're watching this video. Creamy, biscuity, barley rich, tangy, sweet sour, sensation rich. Tiny touch of saltiness in the development and fresh, zesty, pickled pineapple tannins into the finish. I'm loving this stuff and I'm in the mood for a good mark. Here we go. 87 out of 100. And if anybody asks you, just tell them that Ralphie said. So, see you soon for review number 1117, in which I will be giving you a timely update on something very important. See you then. Bye-bye.